Okay, so get ready to stretch those mental muscles, because today's deep dive, well, it takes us into the world of ultramarathons.
Ultramarathons.
Yeah, we're lacing up our curiosity shoes and joining Matthias Bachmann,
Okay.
the CEO,
Wow.
who also happens to be an ultramarathon runner.
Talk about going the extra mile, right?
And we're talking way beyond your typical marathon.
Way beyond. Yeah, how far are we talking?
We're talking like 50 miles,
Yeah.
100 miles, even more.
Oh, my goodness.
And the terrain, forget paved roads.
Yeah.
We're talking mountains, forests, deserts,
Wow.
the real deal.
So we've got like an actual ultramarathon man on our hands.
You do, we do. And luckily we've got this fascinating interview with him from a German running magazine to like guide us.
Perfect, because I'm already wondering, why would anyone choose to do this? Like, what is the appeal?
Right. What makes someone tick who says like, bring on the blisters, bring on the sleep deprivation. I'm running 100 miles through the desert. Yeah. Well, Bachmann talks about summer, the heart of ultramarathon season, as like his absolute favorite time of year.
Okay.
And he describes it with this real sense of joy.
Huh.
Almost like those long, grueling runs are where he truly comes alive.
Interesting.
He calls it living his passion.
It's interesting, that word passion. It suggests like a deeper connection to running than just a hobby, you know?
Totally. And he gets almost poetic about it.
Really?
He talks about the beauty of the landscapes he runs through.
Okay.
But it's not just about the scenery, right? It's like he finds this intense internal challenge in those moments.
Huh.
He says, and this is a quote, "You are challenged, experience hard things, and you are reduced to the minimum."
It's like that classic idea of stripping away all the non-essentials to find out what you're truly capable of.
Yeah.
And we see this in so many forms, right?
We do.
From monks meditating in solitude to athletes pushing their physical limits.
Right.
There's something primal about it, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. And Bachmann actually compares ultramarathons to meditation himself.
Interesting.
He talks about freeing himself from everyday life, completely switching off and just focusing on his body's signals.
Which is a crucial point.
It is.
Because ultramarathons demand incredible mental fortitude, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Maybe even more so than physical strength. You're battling fatigue pain, your own mind trying to tell you to stop.
And speaking of your mind playing tricks, this is where Bachmann's story takes a turn for the truly wild. He starts talking about hallucinations he experiences during these ultra-long runs.
Hallucinations.
Oh,
wow.
Yeah, we're talking seeing houses in trees,
But
elephants and giraffes just materializing out of thin air, even faces on rocks, some laughing, some not.
So he's seeing things.
He's seeing things
that aren't really there.
that are not really there.
Huh. That's actually not uncommon in ultra-endurance events.
Really?
Yeah, it sounds crazy. But those hallucinations are like a physiological response to extreme exhaustion and sleep deprivation.
So not a sign of like mental breakdown.
Not necessarily, no.
But still, whoa, that's your brain on miles, folks.
I mean, that's wild.
It makes you wonder what is happening up there.
Well, basically, your brain is being pushed to its absolute limit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Think of it like this. Your senses are overloaded with information. The constant pounding of your feet, the changing terrain, the exhaustion. And when your brain is deprived of sleep and essential nutrients, it starts to misinterpret that information.
Okay.
Creating these vivid hallucinations.
Wow.
It's like your sensory system is short-circuiting in a way.
That makes sense, but it still sounds pretty intense.
Yeah.
And it makes you realize just how much these athletes are asking of their bodies and minds.
Yeah, it's incredible.
And it's not even just the hallucinations. He's talking about finishing a race feeling totally wiped. Like his brain went through a full system reboot.
Oh, wow.
He says he can't remember basic things like what day it is or where he parked his car.
Oh, man. It's like that feeling after you pull an all-nighter.
Yeah.
But like magnified 1,000%, you know? Ultra marathons are incredibly taxing on the body and mind. Your energy stores are depleted, your muscles are screaming for rest, and your brain is basically running on fumes.
Yeah.
It's no wonder everything feels a little fuzzy afterward.
Fuzzy is an understatement.
Yeah.
It's almost like your brain needs to catch up to the experience you just put it through.
Oh.
But here's what blows my mind. Despite all that, Bachmann keeps coming back for more.
Really?
He describes this incredible feeling after a race, this feeling of being reborn and experiencing this deep sense of happiness.
Ah.
It's addictive, he says, and it makes him want to do it all over again.
It's like the runner's high.
Yeah.
Only It's like a runner's high on steroids.
Totally. And you know what else is interesting?
What's that?
He doesn't just run these races, he documents them.
Oh, really?
And we're not talking about a few casual selfies along the way.
Yeah.
He brings a whole filmmaking setup.
What?
A tripod, a video camera, all while running these insane distances.
While he's running.
While he's running.
That's hardcore. I mean, talk about dedication. That's adding extra weight to an already grueling challenge.
Totally. I mean, can you imagine?
I can't even imagine carrying my phone that long.
Right. It's like he's not just participating in the race, he's observing it too.
Yeah.
And it's clearly not just about capturing pretty scenery either. He spends weeks editing each race down to a short film.
Wow.
Calling it a way to deepen, document, and preserve the experience.
That's really interesting. You know, it makes me think about the different ways people process intense experiences. Like for him, it's this very deliberate act of turning it into art, something he can revisit and share with others.
And Sherry does.
Of course, because why else would you film it?
Right. He posts these films on YouTube and Instagram. So if you're curious to see what it's actually like to run an ultramarathon, check out his channels. We'll link them in the show notes.
Definitely check him out.
But here's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
Bachmann mentions that good weather is important for his filming. Makes sense, right? Who wants a bunch of gloomy footage?
Right.
But then he says that filming at night isn't as visually interesting. Again, logical, but it's almost funny.
Why is that funny?
Because he experiences most of his hallucinations at night.
Oh, right.
It's like his artist's eye is still active even when his brain is playing tricks on him.
That is so fascinating. What a strange juxtaposition. You've got this incredibly primal experience happening, hallucinations, exhaustion, and yet there's still this other part of his brain that's like, nah, the lighting's not quite right for a cinematic masterpiece.
I know. It makes you wonder, what are the limits of human consciousness?
Right. Like how much of our experience is shaped by our physical state versus our mental state.
It's mind-blowing.
Yeah.
Okay, so back to the interview. There's a part where they asked Bachmann if he could imagine getting that same feeling, the reborn feeling.
Right.
From those big city marathons.
Okay.
The ones with thousands of participants.
Yeah.
And his answer is telling. He says he feels more at home in the trail running community, where it's more familiar, more personal. It makes you realize there are different types of runners, different motivations.
Yeah.
You've got those big city marathoners, thousands of them chasing personal bests, pushing for that podium finish. And then you've got these ultra marathoners out there for hours on end, almost becoming one with nature, their own thoughts and limitations echoing in the silence.
Yeah, it's a different kind of achievement for sure. And the contrast kind of reminds me of something we see time and time again in these deep dives. It's like this sheer variety of ways people find meaning and fulfillment is just incredible.
It's true. What lights one person up might leave another cold.
Exactly.
And speaking of different paths, the interview wraps up with Bachmann talking about his training routine. Even when the ultramarathon season is over, he's still logging some serious miles.
Okay, how serious are we talking?
We're talking like 12 miles or more, 3 to 5 times a week.
Wow. That's commitment. Even when there's no, finish line in sight? That speaks volumes about his passion for the sport. It's clearly not just a hobby for him. It's ingrained in his lifestyle.
He really does embody that idea of, finding joy in the journey.
Yeah.
Which I guess brings us to a final thought for everyone listening.
Okay, I like it.
If you could choose any landscape to run through, to test your own boundaries, where would it be? What is it about that place that calls to you?
I love that question. It's taking this whole ultramarathon concept and making it personal. It's not just about running these crazy distances. It's about tapping into that adventurous spirit, that human need to discover what we're truly capable of.
Exactly. And hey, if you want to experience those stunning landscapes Bachmann runs through, be sure to check out his films. We'll have links to his YouTube and Instagram in the show notes.
Definitely check those out.
Until next time, keep exploring.